republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'll call the December 6th meeting of the Common Council to order. Please call the roll.
Councillor Olson?
Here.
Councillor T. Fennessy?
Here.
Councillor Bender?
Here.
Councillor Sweeney?
Here.
Councillor B. Fennessy?
Here.
Councillor Garfield?
Here.
Councillor Ludwig?
Here.
Councillor Herrick?
Here.
Councillor Kern?
Here.
Councillor Dahlbeck?
Here.
Youth Councillor Hale?
Here.
Youth Councillor Levine?
Here.
Recognizing a quorum, I'll ask for the consideration of the approval of the minutes of the November 15th and the November 22nd council.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That was quick.
Item 6 is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Heard the motion in multiple seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Item 7.1, Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Director Kadat is recommending approval of the Superior Youth Organization 4-year agreement renewal.
Motion
to approve.
Second.
Heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Item 7.2, Planning Director Cirque is recommending land sale procedures be waived for the city-owned property located in the 6100 block of Oaks Avenue, and that the pertinent city staff be allowed to sell the property directly to Ms. Holm for the suggested value of $1,500.
Motion approved.
Second.
You've heard the motion. Discussion. Councilor Olson.
Jason, just for clarification, who's the pertinent city staff? Where's Jason?
Allison and myself.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll do the transaction. We do the deed. Sometimes we have Frog's office as well get involved. So, yep.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Item 7.3, Planning Director Cirque is requesting approval to place city-owned lots for sale with the intent of potential buyers developing the properties to their highest and best use.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You've heard the motion. All in favor?
What do you have?
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I didn't tell you.
Go ahead.
I've got just a really short presentation, folks. I appreciate the approval and the moving forward with this. Mayor and councilors, thanks for letting me speak here. Plan commissioners saw this, a few councilors, and essentially we've acquired some properties either through a tax deed process, raise process, that are what we call conforming and are able to support homes in the city of Superior. So we have, I've got a list of 10 or so here, and I just wanted to show you kind of what they look like instead of you looking at them on a piece of paper. But our goal is to get houses on these things, on these properties. And we're really not interested in a neighbor coming and getting yard. We're not particularly on a buildable lot. We're not interested in folks looking to expand their yard space with a garage or what have you. We are really looking towards places to put homes up. These are areas that are not wet. These are areas that are served fully by utilities and have very low costs associated with them in site prep. So we're really looking at kind of putting a push on this. We'll have an agreement in place. I think that's one thing that is going to be very key here is once we get a bid, we will decide which bid to go with based on an agreement. There will be more or less a year to be able to build on that property. Of course, we'll work with the folks if there's issues, but we really are making a push for filling in these lots and providing space for single families as well as potentially a duplex or actually a townhome in some spots. So very quickly, just wanted to go through some of these sites. Here's a very typical site that we have. Was a raise that we acquired from the county through a deed tax deed process. Single family home in this area, which is zoned R1B. And it's out in East End, nice lot. Actually, the house to the north and west is actually for sale. So there's been some inquiries about the lot, this one will probably go fairly quickly. One thing on the prices, and you probably saw that, we work with Brad in the assessor's office to kind of determine this. He looks at the areas, kind of looks at per square foot costs, what the sizes are, of course, and apply a rate to that. Here's one on 1812 Oaks. Again, buildable, 50 by 140, 7,000 square feet, perfect for a single family. Actually, a multifamily. When I say multifamily, maybe a townhome, probably a duplex in that area. Another lot, Fisher Avenue, North End. Another, R3 apartment, so you've got some flexibility there in densities and what to build. Here is a one in Billings Park, Maryland Avenue. Another nice piece of property, 55 by 125, so that's a nice size lot for a single family home on a corner. 2909, this is the old Lesch's Grocery. Would need a variance on this one, but it is a very buildable lot. Councilor Herrick has asked questions about this property. We've got some questions as well about the buildability of that. Another infill lot over on Belknap Street. We have actually offered this property to the neighbor because he has quite a few properties in there, but we did not get a response from him. So we were going to go forward with a sale on this one. It's kind of by the roundabout. Here is one on 30 out in Billings Park as well, North 17th Street. Another single family home site. 400 block of Cumming, North End. And again, R3 apartment residential, and has some flexibility in maybe some townhome or single family. And then 19th and Banks, a lot that was put together in 2 consecutive years. 1 year when a piece went tax deed, and I believe another year when it went tax deed again. So there were kind of one owner there that had 2 lots. So we put those together with the county. Another lot on North 21st Street, kind of a little just before the viaduct. We actually talked to the neighbor about this one as well. No interest, so we're going to put this one up for sale. Here's a parcel on a 2300 block of Oaks Avenue. Good sized piece. Again, R2 family. Good site for a 2-family dwelling. This is another piece that this was kind of runs along the line of Miss Holmes' property, who you approved before. This is actually a buildable lot. We offered it to the gentleman that owns that piece of property there. Did not get a response from him, so we are moving forward with putting that one up for sale. And that's it. A little add too, as you know, Redevelopment Authority has properties for sale in the old tennis court lots on 18th and 8th. And we've had quite a bit of interest in those, just nobody pulling the proverbial trigger. We'll be kind of making a push on advertising that at the beginning of the year in our Superior Telegram, as well as our Duluth News Tribune and some of the real estate sections, just to get that word out. We've been working with realtors on that, and we'll also be working with realtors on these as well. Are there any realtors in the room? Okay, good. We are actually looking at, and this would have to go before committee and council as well, we are actually looking at providing potentially some incentives. And what that would mean is maybe even giving some money back at the end of the project, like we do a lot with some of our industrial projects, where we give maybe, I'll throw a number where you give $2,000 or $3,000 at the end of the project, where they can buy appliances, or they can do that. You use the proceeds from the sale of the land. So those are just some ideas that we're trying to get that price down, trying to get that, because what our problems are is that our construction costs and our appraisals, there's a gap. And we're seeing it not only in residential, but we're seeing it in our commercial properties. And so we're working on, with the Development Association, kind of working on a little project that would potentially close that with a revolving loan fund or some form of dollars to do that. So that'll be coming. Hopefully we'll be able to roll that out in the first quarter, trying to solidify a couple of things. I'm putting Jim on the spot, but that is kind of what we're working for. Those are some of the issues that we're seeing.
Any questions of Jason or questions in general? Counselor Sweeney?
The objective is to build lots, homes on the lots.
Yes, sir.
So if somebody came along and bought a lot, there's no criteria that they have to build within so long. There is.
We would here.
Is that enforceable?
We would mandate a.
So what happens if they don't?
We take it back. It would be part of the agreement.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I like what you said about incentives, because if the objective is to sell homes, we have to have more than just put them up for sale.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion, questions? Counselor Olson?
When you're saying taking back the property, the cost of the property we hold on to? They lose the...
I think there would probably be a deposit, Dan, and what we would take some earnest money at the beginning, and what we've usually done, like we did for Ken Chaleas' property, we'll take some earnest money, and then if it gets to the point where the plans are not in place, we'll actually get to the point before we close that plans will have to be in place. Don't know if a permit will have to be pulled, but we probably encourage that as well before we would actually close on the property. And if that doesn't go, then we'll keep that earnest money.
So basic real estate
Yeah,
development.
basic real estate
Okay.
transaction.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Counselor Garfield?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple comments regarding the potential to create some townhomes in our community. I'm very supportive of that idea. In my district especially, we see a lack of modern and affordable housing. Townhomes are a really excellent way to appeal to both retirees who are looking to move away from a single dwelling home and also young professionals who are looking to get on their feet. So it kind of solves two problems at once.
Yes, it does.
And can be really I would believe that would be more beneficial to our tax base than just single houses usually.
Yep.
So thank you for the work you're doing here very much.
I would agree, and you must have been talking to Lois and Bruce before you came in there. So I hear it every day.
Any further discussion?
Right here.
I'm sorry, Counselor?
Yeah, Jason, I'm quite familiar with a couple of those lots, especially some of the ones in Billings Park, especially that one there on Maryland and Council Herrick's area. You know, are we going to be upfront with these people with some of these lots, and they're not very big, and some of the things that they're going to have to do, and make sure that we're going to be accommodating for if there's any variances that need to be changed or setbacks and stuff like that?
Definitely, and a lot of times, we have some flexibility administratively when it comes to setbacks. You can see it with the Habitat house that's going up. We were able to kind of work and look at the neighborhood, so it's not set back all the way and it looks kind of out of place, and want to make sure that there's enough backyard and things to accommodate. So yes, definitely.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Motion's on the floor, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Item 7.4, Planning Director Cirque has an update on Howard's Bay remediation project, including dredge disposal at closed landfill on Wisconsin Point.
We thought it would be a very good time. A couple of years ago, I believe Joe was here, along with Tom Corelli, who is not at Fraser Shipyard, who is retired from Fraser Shipyard, made a presentation on an AOC project, Area of Concern project, that was being formulated and worked on for the Howard's Pocket, or where Fraser Shipyard is. We are a lot further. There are a lot of partners. City of Superior is one of them, and we thought it would be a good time, since the city has discussed working with the Corps of Engineers, the DNR, Fraser Shipyards, EPA, and I'm sure I'm forgetting another one, Great Lakes Legacy, on looking at funding about a $12.5 million cleanup project for the pocket. And Joe Graham, who is here, is going to do a short presentation on what the project is, just to bring you up to speed, as well as where we are today and what we are proposing. This is only an update. Kind of want to get your reactions, and I did have a conversation with Esther before Councilor Dahlbeck, before the meeting, and I took some comments from her regarding getting some more word out on this, getting it out into the public, and I think you will agree after kind of listening that this does make sense. It's a great project for not only the City of Superior, but the environment, Fraser Shipyards, and also putting our name on the map for contributing to cleaning up the St. Louis River. Who else is here? So Joe's from the Wisconsin DNR. We also have Chris Sari from the Wisconsin DNR. James Farkas, who you'll probably recognize, is the president and COO of Fraser Shipyards, as well as Sean Smith from Fraser Shipyards. So, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we'll go from there.
Good evening. I'm Joe Graham with the Wisconsin DNR Great Lakes Program. I'm happy to be here tonight to provide an update on the Howards Bay remediation project. This is a picture of the pocket back in the 1960s. It was a very busy place and still continues to be an important place. Howards Bay, as you know, is a location has been the location for shipyards, grain terminals, commercial fishing operations, and other operations for over 100 years. The shipyard is critical to the shipping industry. It's the only dry docks on Lake Superior in the U.S. It's economically important to the city of Superior. Cleanup and navigation dredging is important to the vitality of commerce in Howards Bay. Maritime needs in the bay are met by a shipping navigation channel and private slips. The shipping channel ranges from 175 feet to 450 feet in width, and the authorized depth is 27 feet. And Sean's going to provide some information on Fraser.
Okay, Fraser Shipyards has been around for about 125 years, family owned and everything. We are the only shipyard on Lake Superior. We're also a very capable shipyard. We have 2 dry docks, full metal working facilities, so we're capable of doing pretty much anything that the ships would need. We're strategically located in a very busy port city, being Duluth and Superior, on Lake Superior. So that's very convenient for the vessels that do come here. We employ, during the winter, several hundred people. On average, you could see about 50 to 70 people per ship that's laid up in the winter. And in the summer, we also do have projects. We'll have overhauls of vessels and stuff like that, like Coast Guard vessels. We also have Lake Assault Boat on the property. Here says on average about $2 to $2.5 million spent per ship during the season. So that's a significant amount of money put into the local economy. As far as the dredging itself, it would be to clean up current contamination that has been there from 125 years of shipyard activity, and also to deepen the navigable channel that goes from the entrance to Howard's Pocket all the way to the dry docks, which will also be an economic benefit to the shipyard and the city in return.
Thanks, Sean. And I'd also, the state of Wisconsin feels that Fraser Shipyards is a very important business. Through our Wisconsin Department of Transportation, we have funded several infrastructure improvement projects for the dock wall and some of the electrical upgrades through our Harbor Assistance Program administered by DOT. Also within Howards Bay is CHS grain terminal. It's also another significant economic facility. It's the largest grain elevator in the Twin Ports at 18 million bushels. So as Jason mentioned, this is within the area of concern due to the past practices over the last 100 or so years across the Great Lakes. Areas became contaminated, and also habitat was degraded by dredging and filling. So across the Great Lakes, there are 43 areas of concern. We are in the St. Louis River area of concern. Howards Bay is identified as a site where action is needed to address contamination within the St. Louis River area of concern. This is kind of a close-up of Howards Bay. As I was saying, it's a contaminated sediment site. We see elevated levels of lead, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, which are kind of associated with petroleum products, mercury, and tributyl tin, which was a an agent that was in some of the paint to keep things from growing on the ship hulls of some of the ocean-going vessels. And action is needed to address the contamination and related restrictions on dredging. And it's really interesting to note that the shallow portions of the bay provide habitat for fish, and we've caught very big northern pike and muskie in our nets in the spring in the shallow portions of the bay. So the Howards Bay project, it's a collaboration between many partners. Those partners include Fraser Shipyards, Wisconsin DNR, City of Superior. It also includes the United States Environmental Protection Agency, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. The project is a public-private partnership to address environmental issues and meet maritime needs utilizing sound science, common sense, and innovative solutions. The project involves the Army Corps dredging the shipping channel to a depth of 27 feet, as well as cleanup dredging of the polluted areas that are deeper than 27 feet in that channel or outside that channel. Excuse me. We're looking at doing the Army Corps navigation dredging and the cleanup dredging at the same time, and that helps us to achieve some efficiencies by doing a larger joint project. The status of our project, we're about 90% complete with the planning phase. We've completed what's called a feasibility study. We're currently working on the remedial design. That's funded, that's a $1.4 million project. That's been funded by federal Great Lakes Legacy Act funding at a level of 65% federal, 35% funding of the in-kind and cash contributions from Fraser and state of Wisconsin. We're currently working on the design and have submitted an application to fund the construction phase of the project. As Jason said, it's about a $12.5 million project. Again, we will be looking at a 35 to 38% non-federal contribution. So through the feasibility study, we looked at various alternatives to addressing the contamination in the bay. The one that we landed on that was the most cost-effective involves navigation dredging by the Corps, about 40,000 cubic yards. Cleanup dredging, about 83,000 cubic yards. And those are the pink areas on this map. And then some sand cover over some other areas. So that's a lot of dredge material. And what do we do with all that dredge material? The navigation channel material would be going to Erie Pier. That will meet the standards to be processed and reused on land in Minnesota. We're also looking at potentially using a demolition landfill for more contaminated material. And we're also looking at the Wisconsin Point landfill to reuse that material to improve the cap and the cover, and that would have to meet some site-specific protective standards. Some background on the Wisconsin Point landfill. It was closed in 1977. It was capped with clay. Development, agricultural uses, and land disturbing activities are not allowable because it's a closed landfill, and it is currently fenced to limit access. It was recently used for stockpiling clay that was being used for capping at Moccasin Mike landfill. The existing cap on the Wisconsin Point landfill has some issues. There's some uneven or differential settling of the waste inside the landfill, which causes some drainage problems or ponding, and eventually that's something that will need to be repaired. So adding additional cover material could be a benefit. It could increase the thickness over the waste. It could improve drainage, maintain the vegetation, and also allow recreational uses. Recreational uses of Wisconsin Point landfill are recommended in the Wisconsin Point Management Plan. Low-impact recreational uses that are compatible with the landfill. That would include increased access for footpaths or trails, an off-leash dog park, and parking areas. So the physical standards of what would be needed to improve the landfill to address the issues with the cover and to make it suitable for recreation, the slopes would need to be walkable for people to recreate and no steeper than 10-foot horizontal to 1-foot vertical. The height would need to be limited, so we're not creating something very high over the lake. And this is a figure showing what the profile or height would look like. This is a maximum scenario, which we would be about half of this, probably no more than 5 or 6 feet above what it currently is. The material would need to be free from large debris to allow mowing and to prevent settling from rotting, wood or other things. And it would have to support vegetative growth. And I mentioned site-specific protective standards. These have been developed by DNR using methods EPA methods. They are protective of human health and the environment. They are for limited recreational uses, such as footpaths and/or a dog park. And they assume limited soil exposure, that you wouldn't be digging into the material. They include realistic exposure assumptions, and the frequency and exposure times are reduced in comparison to non-industrial or recreational exposure. We have placement criteria for 19 chemicals that could be present in the dredge material. They are protected based on limited recreational uses, and 12 of those chemicals, including lead and mercury, would be the same as the lower non-industrial or residential values. DNR has allowed recreational uses on similar sites. We have the Rails to Trails program, where we have recreation trails along former railroad corridors. Those have similar levels of contaminants. We also have allowed dog parks at closed landfills. DNR programs are in agreement with the values and have been involved in coming up with the standards. Wisconsin Department of Health Services have reviewed and concurred with the levels and conditioned on maintaining a grass cover, especially if the site were to be developed as a dog park. And these are conservative values. We did not adjust all the dials in the equations to come up with the numbers. And we could have used higher numbers if we wanted to. So the benefits of this project, the Howards Bay project, and with use of the Wisconsin Point landfill, it's a win-win scenario. It could improve the landfill cover and make it safe for recreational uses. It would maintain the navigation depths and the economic interest in Howards Bay. It addresses the use impairments in Howards Bay and the AOC issues. It includes beneficial reuse of dredge material. It involves a public-private partnership by the city, DNR, Fraser, EPA, and the Corps. And it also would count as in-kind contribution for the project. And this is just a figure of kind of what the footprint of the material could look like if under the maximum volume scenario. The material would be dredged and would be handled and processed on property at Fraser. The hauling route that the trucks would take from Fraser to the landfill, they would drive down Highway 253, Moccasin Mike Road, and then down Wisconsin Point Road. Over the course of the project, which would take several months to complete, it's a total of 4,000 to 5,000 trucks. The next steps on the project are to refine the cost estimates, and then to negotiate project agreements for the construction projects, one agreement with US EPA under the Great Lakes Legacy Act program, and also a contribution agreement between the non-federal sponsors, DNR, Fraser, and city. We would be finishing the design. We would be continuing public engagement on the project, and we would be looking to start construction late in 2017 or the spring of 2018. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Councilor Bender.
Yes, thank you. And Joe and Sean, thanks to both of you for being here to make this presentation. And of course, many of us remember this area when it was the slip, we always called it. The Grand Avenue slip, we would go and swim there as kids. And it was, Tom, why don't you turn this off for a minute because we're getting feedback. Yeah, so if you have too many microphones on, you get too much feedback. There's no question that this area does need action. And one thing that was said was that part of this will be going to Minnesota, very similar to the dredge spoils that have come out of the St. Louis River. And those dredge spills, or dredge spoils rather, have gotten to the point where they're used in construction, especially the sand is used in construction there. So that's a good thing. I know one thing that I'm concerned about would be the seepage, especially of lead there, because of course we know lead is not a good thing. And the area that you're talking about, when they closed that off, what was that, over 20 years ago, when they closed that off, there were always signs there that said future recreation area. So now it might actually get to the point where it will be a future recreation area, and I think that's a good thing. I did receive 3 calls on this today, and they were very concerned, especially about the seepage of lead and other damaging chemicals, and they also brought up the question about what damage is going to be done to the now okay road surface at Wisconsin Point. When you have didn't you say 4,000 to 5,000 truck trips?
Yes.
So those are the concerns that were expressed to me.
Okay. As far as the leachability of the material, one thing that's important is the lead levels in this material would be the same levels that we would allow on a residential property. This material's been in the water for a long time, so anything that could leach out of it, it probably has over time. And we would also be adding material to the dredge material, like a lime or a cement, to help take some of the water out, and that would also help to bind up some of the lead in the material. As far as the road and the newly resurfaced road, the project would take that into consideration, and any damage done to that section of the road would be repaired as part of the project.
Good, that's very necessary. Thank you. Very, very good answer. You guys did a great presentation.
Councilor Fennessy?
Yeah, I agree with Councilor Bender on some of the concerns, and I commend you for the project. I think we all agree it's got to be done. I've just got some of the same concerns about the long-term stability of that and the leaching. I don't know if that's going to be monitored there's existing wells out there now, but I don't know if they're going to have any kind of monitoring wells out there to keep an eye on it, because who knows what's going to happen in 20 years with the erosion of the lake creeping up and whatnot. The road is an issue. I'm very concerned about that because this council finally got enough money to do it right. It never really got back to the right way after the Army Corps did the riprap, and did the repairs. I'm very concerned about piecemealing repairs on roads because I know what happens. So if we go down this road, we better have some very strict documents on road repair. Is there I don't know what the long-term plan is for public meetings also on this, because I think this is something that we need to take the time and have some public input, just as some of us have heard by phone calls. And I think that we got to be very transparent on this as far as what's happening. Let's see, what else was it? I think everything else was said. So that was my comments.
Yes, and yes, I'm looking at Todd over here because the road. So we'll make sure that, I just want to reaffirm what Joe said, that we'll make sure that we'll keep that in there, because I don't think he wants to go back in and keep fixing that and whatever else do. Public meetings, yeah, that's what I heard from Esther. I think it's a great idea. I think we should, make sure I think trotting out a presentation like this and explaining and maybe getting into the depths a little bit more is a great idea.
Councilor Olson?
You could just move down the line here, because I think the same person might have called all 3 of us.
I had 3 calls.
Anyway, same concerns. You mentioned that you'd put cement, other products to get rid of the lead in the water. What about the mercury, and what about the oil that you said was contaminants?
Yeah, the same agents would help to bind the mercury as well as the oil. It may actually drive off some of the oil. The good thing about the oil is that will break down over time and won't be oil anymore, given enough time. So.
Okay, and what about seepage in the vehicles that are running from Fraser out to the point?
That would be no different than any other trucks hauling freight down the road or anyone else's cars. I mean, the same concerns you would have with that. You need to maintain the vehicles appropriately and, be careful topping off fluids and that kind of thing. So, and as far as the leaching and monitoring of that, that would be part of the plan. The biggest concern, or the most important thing, would be maintaining that vegetation on the site, and that would kind of keep that material, intact.
The leaching is a concern, but pretty hard to leach liquid through clay. But if there are voids and stuff in there, I guess my concern would be more drain runoff as we're putting the stuff in. I'm pretty familiar with exactly where you're talking about, but if there was runoff across the road and into the bay on the other side, something more than a regular silt fence.
Yeah. The erosion control and stormwater management plan for this project would be a little bit more than a silt fence. Carefully, the engineers would come up with a design to mitigate those concerns for runoff until the material is well vegetated or stabilized, as they call it.
And then one other thing, I think I got it then. You gonna be hauling this stuff wet? Is that?
The material would be stockpiled at Fraser for a certain period of time to allow some of the water to drain off of it. And then if needed, they would add that cement to it to drive off some more of the water and make it more of a solid material. So it wouldn't be that liquid. It would be like a soil material.
So then why not leave it right on Fraser Shipyard? What are you gonna do with the chemicals and everything when you pull it out of the bay?
But the chemicals stay with the dredge material. So, and to preserve usable space on the shipyard and the dock space adjacent to those areas, the material would be hauled off and not have a pile of material there.
So the city's portion in this is roughly $1.4 million and defined as an in-kind contribution. Quite honestly, what are we getting back out of it? Anything?
Well, you're getting back, improving the condition of the cover at the Wisconsin Point landfill and making it usable potentially for recreational uses if that's desired. It would, the material that would be on the surface of the landfill would be accepted for, hiking trails or a dog park.
And what is the time frame for what you would consider it to be chemical-free, contaminant-free?
The material would be suitable for those uses as soon as the grass was growing on top of it and it was well vegetated. So.
And you're not worried about any inhalation?
The inhalation is one of the risk pathways that is considered in how the values were derived, as well as ingestion and dermal absorption and some other things that toxicologists can.
So what is the end plan for that? Are you going to ensure that we don't go out there and ingest? What's the time frame? Somebody's going to have to close the book on this is a done project and away we go, and there's no liability to the city. Anybody that goes out there, whether it's a human being, pets, any other toxic possibilities.
Yeah, and I think that would be spelled out in the project agreement for establishing that vegetative cover on top of the landfill.
I'm just not really happy with dumping contaminated soil over contaminated land already. That's been there. It just doesn't, to me, doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. And then the condition of the roads, and Tom had alluded to it, we never got anything fixed to satisfaction when the Army Corps went in there and did the riprap project. So, thank you.
That's our
Councilor Garfield.
Thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, say I am really in support of addressing this area of concern here on the Great Lakes, on the St. Louis River. I think there's a lot of value to be said about a community and a society that's addressing these kind of problems that have been created previously and trying to improve these areas for future use. Beyond just the potential of a dog park or recreational area, there must be some other substantial economic benefits as well to the improvement of the bay, correct? Would there be improvements for the shipping then through the dredging work that's being done?
Yeah, the maintenance of those navigation depths, so that ships can get to the dock to be worked on at the shipyard.
Which represents a substantial portion of business within our community. So I think there is a real positive benefit there. I also think that, and I share some of my fellow councilors' concerns, but I think putting contaminated ground back on an area that's already had some contamination is probably a better option than putting it on uncontaminated ground and creating a larger new contaminated area. One question I wanted to ask regarding logistics is, would Wisconsin Point have to be closed to all recreational use for a period of time during the time that the 4,000 to 5,000 trucks? What kind of rate are we thinking daily for these trucks? Is this hundreds of trucks a day, 10 trucks a day?
I wouldn't think that.
An amount prohibitive of
I don't think so.
recreational use or an occasional, a truck went by.
I think we'd want to make sure that we can maintain that people can use the point.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Herrick.
Yeah, just one question. I know you're talking about, of course, putting a lot of the dredging net on the old landfill, but you also mentioned something about demolition landfill. If needed, where would you put that and where would that be?
We would be using an existing demolition landfill. In the feasibility study, we looked at the Von Co. 5 landfill in Duluth.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Sweeney.
Just one I may have missed. Is there a projected start date on this?
Possibly late 2017 or early 2018.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Councilor Kern.
Yeah, a lot of my concerns kind of echo what a lot of the other councilors have said as well. I guess looking, if we do move forward with this, the long-term plan of being able to recreational use on there, are we bringing in the Parks and Rec Department to look at different alternatives to use with it? Or are we kind of set that this is all we can use it for and that's it?
I think Linda would definitely be involved. Probably, she's going to be going through some of her park planning, and in the near future here. And we've run this probably a couple of years ago. I had a little presentation at the Point Committee. I think we'll probably do that again. They were invited to this meeting, and just to get some ideas from the Parks Committee too. And sure, definitely.
Councilor Fennessy.
Yeah, two last questions. And I think I know the answer to Lisa's first one was it considered to try to do any kind of offloading of this material by barge, whether conveyor or slurry style, instead of running that many trucks down the roads?
Yes, that was considered, and that was recently dropped. And the main reason we dropped that, the property that the Army Corps owns at the end of Wisconsin Point is very narrow, and it would be very difficult to load that into trucks. But the main thing was concerns over the resurfaced road, and just having an impact on a greater length of that road.
Okay, and I suppose it's not deep enough to come off the lakeside and do that.
No, they would need substantial depth, and there
Okay.
are not adequate depths there.
Okay. Then my last kind of question or comment is, I guess I'm still just a little concerned, and maybe we won't even know this, what the city's long-term costs. I know this, $1.4 million in in-kind services is a nice gift for this. But what's the residents of Sperry going to possibly be saddled with years down the road, similar to landfills? Are we going to be having to report on a regular basis to the DNR? Are we going to have to be doing the well monitoring? Are we going to have to be, and maybe those questions can't be answered, but I'm just concerned that what kind of a gift are we going to get that we're going to have to give back?
Hi, I'm Darian McNamara. I'm the landfill manager, for those that don't know me. And I just wanted to chime in that we do monthly monitoring on monitoring wells that are already existing in the, around the perimeter of the old landfill. And so if there were leaching issues coming out from the soil once it's placed there, we probably would pick it up in those wells in the monthly monitoring that we do. But I think your question still is applicable, that, what if we find contaminants that seem to point to the dredge material as opposed to landfill material that we already own? I'll leave it to Joe now to field the harder question.
I have a question on that. Gene, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're costing us about $140,000 a year to monitor each the closed cells on the new landfill. So the question is what does it cost to monitor the 1977 landfill?
It's actually about $7,000 or $8,000 a year we pay for that site.
Okay. And would that be increasing because of more acute monitoring after the dredge is put there?
Joe, do you think that there would have to be heightened monitoring with this project?
As far as the EPA project that this would be done under, that can cover some of the monitoring, I think, for 2 to 5 years after the work is complete. And after that, I see the monitoring there to be no different or no more requirements than the existing requirements for the landfill, unless there's another change due to regulations or something else, but not because of the placement of this material. So it should be the same maintenance for mowing the site and monitoring the wells as it is now.
Joe, maybe you want to talk a little bit about testing protocol and what that is on site at Fraser and before it leaves.
Yeah, and that would still be worked out, but there's an opportunity. The material would be tested. They would look at its leachability of the chemicals that are in there. It would also determine if it meets the placement criteria that we've developed too.
And one more thing that I want to make sure is conveyed is that the testing that was done to look at the contaminant levels in the dredging included testing where they leached water from the dredge material and then looked at the contaminants that came out in that leached liquid. So that really gets directly at the concerns that many of you are raising, is what would leach out of this, and that's precisely what was looked at, is what did leach out of this during lab testing. They didn't just look at the material itself and test it, they looked at what did leach out under the conditions it would be at the old landfill.
Councilor Fennessy.
You answered most of at least the environmental side of things that I had, at least those questions. Is this project just strictly dredging and cleanup, or is this going to open up any kind of opportunities for Fraser? Are they going to be able to do anything else, or is this just strictly cleanup?
Well, we will be maintaining our ability to bring vessels into the shipyard. Sediment over time is deposited, not in a great rate at the shipyard, but it is some rate. So maintaining our navigable channel, given that it is a federal waterway, will help us bring ships in the future. So in that way, it will help us be in the shipyard.
But it's not going to allow you any extra opportunities or anything like that?
We would have to look at that a little more. There are some limitations on vessels that we can bring in already, primarily like 1,000-footers. We'd have to look at specifically if this would allow us to bring in any extra vessels, but really the biggest thing is it's going to maintain our ability to bring vessels in the long term.
Sure.
Which is very important, because if we can't bring them in 10, 20 years down the road, then that's obviously a large problem for us.
Thank you.
Councilor Olson?
Just one more quick question. We're monitoring the old landfill right now. How much longer is that? If we didn't touch any of this, is that the 40-year responsibility of the city?
Yeah, statutes stipulate 40 years at a minimum, but we're still finding contamination from the landfill and quite a few of the wells, actually. So until that goes away, they want to keep tabs on what those levels are. So we're going to have to keep monitoring. Hard to say how long at this point.
Okay, when you say they,
The DNR, I'm sorry.
okay, do we get any grant money for doing that, or is that all on our dime?
We're on the hook for that because we operated the landfill.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question going back to the dredging itself at the Howard's Pocket. There's been substantial improvements made to the dock walls down there. Will this necessitate or accommodate further dock wall improvement as we go forward?
Sean, you want me to, I don't see, and maybe Sean can answer that question, I don't see any further, but
Dredging with the current dock walls, it won't affect the current dock walls at all. They'll be just fine. They are designed to be dredged down to the depth of 28 feet, I believe, which is the standard for seaway navigation. So it won't affect the stability of them in any way. It'll just bring them to the depth that they should be at.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you so much for the presentation.
thank you. And counselors, no action tonight. Just wanted to update you. We'll take heed on the public meeting comments. We will discuss that internally. And hopefully after that, we'll be presenting probably these agreements that Joe addressed in his presentation. So thanks for your attention tonight.
Motion to receive and file?
Second.
Heard the motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, item 7.5, Public Works Director Janico is recommending approval of the joint powers agreement with WLSSD for household hazardous waste be renewed for 2017.
Motion approved.
Second.
Heard the motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Item 7.6, Public Works Director Janico is recommending approval of the professional engineering services agreement with TKDA to provide professional engineering services on an as-needed basis.
Motion approved. Second.
Heard the motion and second. Discussion. Counselor Olson?
What is an as-needed basis? What are we encompassing? Just the bullet points?
Now turn.
What are you doing, Brian?
Has something to do with angle. As needed, we've got a couple other firms that do as needed. We have standard agreements that we've been updating throughout the years with other firms. We get a request for changing the striping on Hammond Avenue. We got to make sure it's MUTCD compliant, and somebody can knock that out in a few hours. We do a quick memo and we're done. It's everything that falls under that. The bidding requirements, the smaller, where we'll go out and get 3 quotes from somebody, those types of things. We just had another round of FEMA stuff. FEMA is as needed. We can call them in. We've got their pricing. We can compare the 3 prices and say, okay, this is the best person for this. Do a short memo and be, like I said, under those bidding requirements, and try to stay under them with these small projects type stuff. So it's nothing specific. There's nothing set in stone where there is even going to be something. It's kind of like our sand and gravel bids. We think we'll probably need these services at some point in the next year, and they have a breadth of knowledge that we can tap into. We have their prices. We have an agreement in place, rather than spending a month and a half going through negotiating an agreement and prices for the work.
So, time material not to exceed? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah,
basically.
Usually it's something like that. We want you to go out and look at this, figure out what it's going to cost us, what the quantities are going to be. They'll put together a proposal for X number of dollars and what the final product will be, and they'll do the work for that price. The numbers that keep coming into my head are $2,500. That kind of stuff, where we're reviewing a site for something. The last one I remember doing was the Barker's Island causeway. We're looking at some options there, and what does it take to put a conceptual plan and put an estimate together for that based on what somebody else did in another community, what the DNR will allow, that kind of stuff. And I think that was like I said, about a $2,500 bill. So it's small stuff like that as it comes up.
And the funding is in your budget?
Yeah, it would come out of, depending on who was doing it, if it was, Parks may use it, we may use it, but it's in the general fund, in the administrative contractual services.
Okay. Thank you.
We already have a couple of these engineering firms on an as-needed basis, right?
Correct.
What's the purpose for another one?
Options.
Okay.
And like I said, it's just like the sand and gravel. If we have six or eight of them, somebody may have a repertoire or the expert in this field, and we want to call on them to do that for a small project. Another one may have a lot of experience with us doing a different project or in a different area, so we'll use them for that. Some of them we may not use. We've got other engineering firms that we have old contracts with, and we started about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago renewing these contracts and getting better language in there for us. And that's kind of that's how this is rolling out. So as we renew, like I said, 2 years ago, and this will be the third one in 2 years that we're renewing or bringing up to date with new standards. So there's other firms out there that have old contracts with us that we haven't done work with in quite a while. And when we have, it's been that bid over $25,000 where, it's a competitive bid type basis.
Because is there? I guess the question is there a gap in the current firms that we use?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if you weren't a counselor and you had an engineering firm and wanted to start doing business with the city of Superior, we'd be more than happy to negotiate these terms with you. And if something came up that fell into your area of expertise, we'd certainly take a look at you for doing it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 7.7, Public Works Director Janigo is recommending approval of the disposal agreement with WLSSD for 3.5 years, commencing on July 1, 2019, for disposal of municipal solid waste and continue to provide trash pickup and disposal to residents.
Motion approved.
You've heard the motion and second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 7.8, Assistant Finance Director Bronson is recommending approval of the 2017 landfill budget.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Heard the motion and second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 7.9, Assistant Finance Director Bronson is recommending approval of the 2017 wastewater utility budget.
Motion approved. Second.
Heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Assistant Finance Director Bronson recommending approval of the 2017 stormwater utility budget.
Motion to approve. Second.
Heard the motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 8.1, recommending approval of the 2-year Legislative Affairs Consultant Agreement between the City of Superior and Capital Consultants for the period January 1, 2017 to December 31, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Heard the motion and second. Discussion? Counselor Sweeney?
Can you take me through this? I'm not clear on how this works. I'm struck between 7.6 and 8.1. Are we paying a retainer fee on a monthly basis? And then is he giving us a report of something done on a monthly basis, or unless we contact him to do something specifically for us?
It's a good question. Many months and time goes by where we don't need his services or their services, but there are times when we do. A major one in the recent years has been the oil pipeline terminal tax, and they've made great accomplishments in that, with partially due to his assistance or their assistance in achieving a better level. But Gene, do we get periodic?
Jason might know that. I seem to recall we were supposed to get quarterly reports at some, I think it was discussed maybe a couple years ago, we should be getting quarterly, and I don't know if they're going to Jason.
We will check into that.
I'm sorry?
We'll check into that for sure.
All right, could we, I would like to hold off on, make a recommendation till we hold off on that until someone lets me know that. I'd be interested in that, because I think that's a, if he's providing a service, I understand that, but I'm struck between 7.6 and 8.1. And so, I mean, the difference in the way we're handling this, a contract. So I would make a recommendation if someone would second that we hold till we get that information back to us. I'd just like to see where we're going on this.
I'll second.
Heard a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We had a motion on the floor to approve.
I'm sorry.
Dude, we had a motion on the floor. Frog, could you help us? Do I need to?
It does.
Both matter, the motion to refer takes precedence.
Okay.
Oh, you referred it?
Yes.
Just, you held it.
Yeah.
Held on committee.
We'll hold it. I mean,
Okay, so that's no different than referring it. If it hold it in committee, that takes precedence.
Yes.
yeah, if you want to be a little more specific, that's always helpful. We can hold it to a certain date, you can refer it to a committee, but obviously taking action on the matter has been postponed.
You want it held in committee?
Well, the reason I didn't say held in committee, is there a committee?
Well, I guess held on the agenda.
We're the committee.
We're the committee then, right. That's why because we technically wouldn't go back to a specific committee, that's why I said, but you tell me the right
Why don't you
verbiage.
just refer it to such time as staff can answer your question.
That's what I thought we, that's what I thought we did, but.
It's held until the next meeting, correct?
Assuming the information's collected by then, sure.
Yeah.
I would put a date on it until the next meeting of the city council then. We know by then.
Report back on the 20th.
Okay, business by councilors, I believe Councilor Bender.
Yes, I'll make this very brief, but I just wanted to congratulate the Hmong community of the Twin Ports on their New Year. I attended their get-together on Saturday morning. This is the second time that I've gone in a couple of years, and it's a great festival, a great event. It has music, dance, fashions, speeches. Most in Hmong, but there were a few in English. Mayor Emily Larson was there, and she spoke on behalf of Duluth. Bill Gronseth was there, and he spoke on behalf of the Duluth Public Schools. Russ Salge was there, and he spoke on behalf of the Spirit Valley Youth Center, and I spoke on behalf of the City of Superior. And if I didn't say so, the food was great. And I don't want anybody salivating, so I'm not going to describe it, but it was great. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Whew, thank God for that.
Item 10.1, Resolution 16-1339 is introduced by the Finance Director of the City of Superior, Wisconsin, appropriating the necessary funds for the operation of the general city government and the administration of the City of Superior, Wisconsin for the year 2017, authorizing and directing a tax levy to be spread on the tax roll of the City of Superior for the year 2016.
I'm recommending that we eliminate that. It's redundant to the purpose and also not required by statute any longer.
What motion is desired?
I'm sorry.
No, it was already pulled.
Yeah.
Um, 11.1, an ordinance introduced by the Public Works Department of the City of Superior, amending City Code Chapter 112, Traffic Code Schedule J, disabled parking zones by removing 1311 John Avenue on both sides.
Motion approved.
Second.
Heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
11.2, an ordinance introduced by the Common Council of the City of Superior, amending City Code Chapter 112, Traffic Code Schedule J disabled parking zones by adding 2120 Banks Avenue on both sides.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
11.3 is an ordinance introduced by the Public Works Committee amending City Code Chapter 112, Traffic Code Section 112 to 145 storage charges.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Item 12.1 is the Superior Amateur Hockey Association requesting continued support for the Great Lakes Classic Pond Hockey Championship as outlined in communication.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Heard the motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Yep, Jack, come on.